Olamide had been waiting for her anniversary trip for months. She imagined walking into a beautiful hotel with her husband, celebrating their love, and enjoying the moments they both deserved. But on the morning of the trip, her husband coldly told her the plans were cancelled. He gave no proper reason, just brushed her feelings aside and left her in shock. Hurt and confused, she decided to go to the hotel by herself, not knowing what was waiting for her. When she stepped into the hotel lobby, instead of being asked for a booking, the manager rushed forward with a warm smile and addressed her by name. He welcomed her not as a guest, but as the new owner. At first, she thought it was a mistake, but then the manager explained that her late aunt had left the hotel in her name, and the papers had just been finalized. The staff gathered around, congratulating her, treating her with honor and respect she had never felt from her own husband. Olamide stood frozen for a moment, overwhelmed by the shocking truth. All this time she had been made to feel small and unworthy in her marriage. Yet here she was being celebrated as a powerful woman who now owned one of the finest hotels in the city. Her heart swelled with pride and relief, realizing life had given her a gift far bigger than any cancelled trip. When her husband finally appeared at the hotel, expecting to gloat over leaving her behind, his confidence drained away the second he saw the scene. The staff bowed to her, the manager spoke only to her, and guests admired her presence. He stood there silent, his face pale, as it sank in that the woman he had tried to belittle now held more power and respect than he could ever dream of. Olamide didn't need to say a word. Her silence spoke louder than any argument. She no longer looked like the woman begging for his attention. She looked like someone who had found her worth. The cancelled trip no longer mattered. What mattered was that she had discovered her strength, her independence, and her late aunt's final gift, a reminder that she deserved more than neglect. She deserved respect and happiness. Amaka's husband cancels their trip, claiming he has important work. She had been excited for weeks, dreaming of time away with him. But instead of love, she got disappointment. He acted as if her feelings did not matter, brushing her off as though her happiness was unimportant. Amaka sat quietly, hiding her pain, but deep inside her heart was heavy. She wondered why he always found reasons to let her down, why he never chose her over his excuses. Just when she thought her dream vacation had vanished, a sound of an engine outside caught her attention. To her surprise, her brother appeared, smiling warmly. He was dressed in his pilot uniform, carrying confidence with every step. He told her to get ready, because he had a special plan. Amaka was confused, but when she followed him outside, her eyes widened. Standing there was a sleek private jet, gleaming under the sun. Her brother explained that he would fly her himself to the very destination she had been denied. Tears filled her eyes as she realized she was not forgotten, not unloved. She felt valued, cherished, and lifted in a way her husband never managed to make her feel. The staff loaded her bags, and her brother opened the door with pride, treating her like someone truly deserving of joy. Amaka stepped into the jet, her heart racing with gratitude. She could hardly believe what was happening, yet it felt so right. Her husband, who had dismissed her so easily, soon learned the truth. He came outside just in time to see the jet preparing to take off. His face twisted with shock and embarrassment. The very woman he had left behind was now leaving him behind instead, soaring into the skies with her head held high. He shouted excuses, but no one listened. The sight of Amaka waving from the window burned into his mind as the plane lifted gracefully, leaving him standing alone, small, and ashamed. Amaka sat back in her seat, smiling as the jet rose higher. She was no longer bound by his neglect. She felt free, empowered, and deeply loved by family who valued her more than empty promises ever could. What began as heartbreak turned into the sweetest surprise, showing her that she deserved more than excuses. She deserved to fly. Igioma's husband secretly cancels their honeymoon booking. She had been counting down the days, dreaming about a fresh start to their marriage, but instead of love and excitement, she was handed betrayal. He smiled at her, pretending everything was fine, while deep inside he had already taken away the one trip she had been looking forward to the most. Igioma felt something was wrong, but could not put the pieces together. She kept quiet, not knowing that the man she trusted had hidden the truth from her. Days later, as she sat alone in her room feeling crushed, her phone rang. On the other end was a soft but confident voice. To her shock, it was the governor's daughter herself. She warmly addressed Igioma, telling her that she was expected as a special guest. Confused, Ijeoma asked how this was possible since she believed the booking had been cancelled. The governor's daughter laughed gently and explained that her name was already on the VIP guest list, carefully arranged long before, because of a personal connection her late father had with Ijeoma's family. Her eyes widened as reality sank in. While her husband had plotted to deny her happiness, destiny had already secured her place at the grand event. The governor's daughter insisted everything was prepared, from the luxury suite to the finest dinner experiences. Ijeoma's sadness turned into disbelief, then into pure joy. She felt honored, important, and finally seen. When her husband discovered she was leaving, dressed in elegance, his face drained of color. He could hardly believe it. The woman he tried to silence and control was now stepping into a life of recognition and dignity far beyond his reach. As the official car from the governor's residence arrived to pick her up, the staff bowed respectfully, ignoring the husband's presence. He stood stiff, his lips trembling, but no words came out. Ijeoma entered the car with grace, her head held high. The betrayal that once burned her heart no longer mattered. She was on her way to a trip she had been destined to enjoy, surrounded by people who valued her. Her husband's plans had failed, and she realized she was stronger than his lies. The hidden invitation had revealed her true place, reminding her that no one could take away what was meant for her. Chidinma's husband cancels their trip and goes with his boss instead. She had been excited about the getaway, believing it was finally time for them to enjoy life together, but he quickly brushed her aside. He claimed it was about work and success, making her feel small and unimportant. Chidinma stayed silent, but deep inside her heart, she carried the weight of disappointment. What he did not know was that her life held a secret he had never cared to discover. While he packed his bags to impress his boss, Chidinma received a private call from the event organizers. The retreat he was so proud to attend had a new investor, someone who had stepped in at the perfect time. That investor was her. She had quietly grown her own business, building relationships that reached higher than her husband ever imagined. When she signed the deal, her name was placed at the very top, giving her the final authority over every detail of the retreat. On the day of arrival, her husband strutted into the luxury resort, trying to show off. He boasted to colleagues, eager to prove his loyalty to his boss. But his pride crumbled when he walked into the grand hall and saw Chidinma standing there, surrounded by organizers, smiling with confidence. She was introduced not as a guest, not as a wife, but as the woman funding the entire event. Gasps filled the room while the boss turned with respect to shake her hand. Her husband froze, unable to believe his eyes. The woman he had left behind was now the reason he was even standing there. His voice caught in his throat as everyone clapped for her, praising her vision and generosity. He tried to approach, but the staff kept their attention only on her. The power he thought he owned slipped away before everyone's eyes. Chidinma remained calm, her poise speaking louder than any words. She did not need to remind him of his betrayal. The truth was laid bare. She was the one with real influence, the one who no longer needed his approval. As she addressed the gathering, her husband stood in silence, shrinking with shame. The trip he had denied her became the moment she claimed her strength, and the world finally saw her for who she truly was. Ngozi's husband cancels their planned vacation. She had packed her bags with excitement, ready to spend peaceful days by the ocean. But instead she was met with cold words. He claimed the trip was unnecessary and brushed off her feelings as if they did not matter. Ngozi felt the sting of disappointment, wondering why her joy always seemed so easy for him to take away. She sat quietly, holding back her tears, but fate had something else prepared for her. A few days later, a knock came at the door. Standing outside was a lawyer carrying a folder. He greeted her politely and explained that he had important documents to deliver. With trembling hands, she opened them and could not believe what she saw. Her late relative had left her something she never expected, an island villa, located in the exact place her husband had just refused to take her. The home was now hers, fully registered in her name, complete with every right to the land and property. Her eyes filled with tears, but this time they were tears of joy. She had gone from feeling forgotten to being blessed with a gift greater than she ever imagined. The lawyer assured her that arrangements had been made, and she was welcome to visit immediately. It was more than a vacation. It was ownership, independence, and a symbol of her worth. When her husband learned of the news, his face fell. He had tried to rob her of happiness, but instead, she was now the proud owner of a villa that outshined every plan he thought he controlled. As she prepared to travel, he watched in silence, his pride broken. The very destination he denied her was now hers forever. Ngozi arrived at the island and stepped into the villa, her heart racing with wonder. The ocean breeze kissed her face, and the staff welcomed her with warmth and respect. She walked through the grand halls, touching the walls that now belonged to her, feeling a power she had never known before. The vacation she lost turned into a lifetime inheritance. Her husband's excuses no longer mattered. What once began with rejection ended in triumph. Ngozi had been handed more than just a trip. She had been given a legacy, a reminder that no one could take away what destiny had already written for her. If Yananya's husband cancels their cruise trip without telling her. She had been waiting for that moment for so long, imagining the sea breeze, the lights of the ship, and the joy of celebrating with him. But instead of excitement, she was met with silence and betrayal. He acted as if nothing was wrong, never even mentioning that the trip was gone. When she asked about their plans, he simply brushed her off, leaving her heart heavy with disappointment. She went to bed the night before her birthday feeling forgotten and unloved, believing the day would pass like any other. But the morning came with a surprise she never saw coming. Her closest friends arrived at her door, smiling brightly, holding flowers and balloons. They told her to get ready, but refused to explain further. Confused, she dressed quickly, and they led her to the harbor. When she reached the pier, her eyes widened. Before her stood the very cruise ship she thought she had lost. The deck glistened in the sunlight, filled with life and music, waiting for her. Her friends revealed the truth. While her husband canceled the booking, they had worked together to arrange something even greater. They had reserved the presidential suite under her name, making her not just a guest, but the star of the trip. Tears filled her eyes as she realized she had people who truly cared for her, people who valued her enough to make her feel special on her most important day. As she stepped aboard, the crew greeted her warmly, guiding her to the luxurious suite. The doors opened to reveal a room filled with elegance, with gifts and decorations waiting for her. She felt her heart swell with joy, overwhelmed by love that went beyond anything her husband had ever given her. Her laughter returned. Her smile shone brighter than ever, and for the first time in a long while, she felt deeply cherished. Back at home, her husband discovered she was gone. He had expected her to sit in sadness, but instead she was sailing across the sea in comfort and style. He was left with nothing but regret, while she danced, celebrated, and embraced the happiness she deserved. The cruise that was stolen from her became a grander gift, proving that true love comes from those who lift you higher when others try to pull you down. Ayanda's husband cancels their Paris trip, claiming no visas. She had been looking forward to strolling under the Eiffel Tower, enjoying cafes, and making beautiful memories, but all her excitement collapsed with his cold words. He acted as though it was out of his control, telling her there was nothing that could be done. Ayanda felt crushed, believing her dream of Paris was gone. She tried to hide her sadness, but deep inside her heart ached. She wondered why her husband never fought for her happiness, why excuses always replaced effort. Days later, while she sat quietly in her room, her phone rang. To her surprise, the call came directly from the embassy. The official on the line greeted her politely and explained that her travel package was not only approved, but had been arranged weeks earlier. Confused, she asked how this was possible. The voice calmly told her that her uncle, a respected diplomat, had already taken care of everything on her behalf. All the documents, the tickets, and the accommodations were ready in her name. Ayanda's eyes widened in disbelief. The trip she thought was cancelled was not only waiting for her, it was secured at the highest level. Her sadness turned into joy, her disappointment into strength. She realized her husband's excuse had been nothing but a lie, another attempt to hold her back. But destiny had moved in her favor, and no excuse could block what was already hers. When her husband learned she was preparing to leave, his confidence cracked. He had expected her to stay home, powerless and defeated, but instead she was packing her bags with elegance and pride. Soon, a car from the embassy arrived at the door, the driver addressing her with respect, completely ignoring him. He stood frozen, unable to believe the woman he tried to stop was now heading to Paris with honor and recognition. As Ayanda entered the car, she felt her spirit rise. She was no longer the woman begging for love, or waiting for effort that never came. She was the woman chosen, valued, and lifted by family who truly cared for her. The city of Paris awaited her, not as a lost dream, but as a reality she fully deserved. Her husband was left standing in silence, watching the life he tried to deny her unfold before his very eyes. Kizoba's husband cancels their London trip. She had been dreaming about visiting the city, exploring new places, and spending quality time with him, but her hopes were crushed the moment he announced his decision. He brushed her feelings aside, acting as though her excitement meant nothing. She stayed silent, but her heart felt heavy. It seemed as if every chance for happiness slipped through her fingers whenever he decided to take control. While she sat alone, trying to accept the disappointment, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from her younger cousin, who had always been close to her. He had just achieved something incredible. He had signed a contract with Arsenal, one of the biggest football clubs in the world. With joy in his words, he invited her to London to celebrate his success. Not only did he want her there, but he promised to make her experience unforgettable. The following day, he called again, explaining that he had arranged everything for her. She would fly to London as his special guest, stay in a luxury hotel, and attend matches with exclusive VIP tickets. Kizoba could hardly believe it. Her disappointment quickly turned into pure excitement. The trip her husband had taken away was now being given back to her in a far greater way. When her husband heard the news, his confidence broke. He realized the city he had denied her was now opening its doors wider than he ever could. He watched helplessly as she packed her bags, this time with joy shining in her eyes. Soon, a car arrived to pick her up, the driver addressing her with respect, reminding her that she was part of something bigger now. Her husband stood in silence, knowing he had no place in this moment. Kizoba boarded the flight with pride, her cousin's invitation giving her more than just a trip. It gave her validation, love, and honor. When she reached London, the bright lights, the luxury suite, and the stadium's roaring crowd made her heart swell. She cheered from the VIP section, living the dream her husband thought he could take away. Her story had turned completely around. What began as heartbreak ended with triumph. Kizoba realized she didn't need his approval to feel special. She had family who believed in her, opportunities waiting for her, and a future brighter than any cancelled plan. Amarachi's husband cancels their trip and tries to impress another woman with it. She had been looking forward to the vacation, imagining days of rest and happiness, but instead she was left behind with heartbreak. He acted as though her joy did not matter, choosing someone else over the woman who had always stood by him. Amarachi felt the sting of betrayal, but she carried her pain in silence, not knowing that fate had already prepared a surprise for her. When her husband arrived at the resort with the other woman, he walked with pride, thinking he had gained control. He looked around with confidence, ready to show off, expecting the staff to admire his choice. But the moment they stepped inside, everything changed. The staff immediately turned their attention away from him and focused on Amarachi, who had entered quietly behind them. The workers bowed respectfully, greeting her as the new co-owner of the entire resort. Her husband froze in shock. He could not believe what he was hearing. The woman he tried to humiliate was now revealed as the very reason the resort stood tall. Amarachi had inherited shares from her late relative, making her a powerful figure in the business. The staff rushed to escort her, offering her the finest service, while her husband and the woman beside him were left standing awkwardly, completely ignored. The other woman's smile faded as she realized the truth, while Amarachi walked forward with elegance. She did not need to raise her voice. Her presence alone commanded respect. Her husband's face turned pale, his pride crushed as the staff guided Amarachi to the executive lounge prepared for her. He tried to speak, but no one cared to listen. The woman he had abandoned was the true authority there, and everyone knew it. Amarachi felt her heart swell with strength. The pain he had caused her no longer held power. Instead, she found dignity, independence, and recognition. She was not just a guest, she was an owner. The betrayal that once broke her now fueled her courage. Her husband's attempt to show off ended with him standing small and ashamed, while she embraced her new role with pride. What began as heartbreak became a story of triumph, proving that no one could take away what destiny had written for her. Neka's husband cancels their holiday last minute. She had packed her bags with joy, ready to explore new places and spend time together. But instead of love, she was met with cold disappointment. He looked at her without care and told her the trip was over, as if her happiness meant nothing at all. Neka tried to hide her sadness, but her heart sank. She wondered why he always found ways to take joy away from her. Later that evening, while she sat in silence, her father-in-law paid her a visit. He looked at her kindly and asked why she seemed so down. She finally confessed that the holiday she had been looking forward to was cancelled without warning. He nodded slowly, his eyes filled with understanding. Then, with a gentle smile, he handed her an envelope. Inside were travel documents, first-class tickets, and a luxury package already booked in her name. He explained that he had arranged everything quietly, making sure she would enjoy the best international trip of her life, that Neka's eyes filled with tears as she realized what he had done. While her husband had tried to take away her joy, his own father had restored it with kindness. Not only was the trip still happening, but it was now far better than before. She would be staying in 5-star hotels, enjoying fine dining, and exploring the world in style, all without the man who had dismissed her so easily. When her husband discovered the truth, his pride shattered. He could not believe his own father had left him out of the plan, while giving Neka everything. As she packed her bags again, this time with excitement glowing on her face, he stood in silence, powerless. The car arrived to pick her up, the driver addressing her with respect, completely ignoring him. As Neka boarded the plane, her spirit soared. She felt free, valued, and deeply grateful to her father-in-law for seeing her worth. The sadness that had weighed her down was gone, replaced by confidence and joy. The luxury upgrade was more than a trip. It was a message that she deserved love, respect, and happiness. While her husband was left behind in shame, she flew into a brighter future, knowing life had given her the gift of dignity and strength that high loves. Thanks a lot for watching till the end. Don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and hit that subscribe button. See you in the next story. Sparkling Heart.